Hey guys, and welcome back to the Final Fantasy playthrough. After a copious amount of side quests, considering an NES game, we're finally back on track for the main quest, and we've entered Volcano in order to take down the Fiend of Fire.
What was that back there? Another snowstorm?
No, that's once again damaging tiles, which there are a lot of. If you thought it was unfair in the ice cavern, you ain't seen nothing. The volcano is full of these damaging floors, but the thing is, they're not all bad. There's actually some pros and cons to these. The con, obviously, is you take damage.
Can I guess the pro?
What's the pro?
You don't have to fight enemies.
You got it, man. You are on track. That's the pro of going on these tiles, is that you don't get any encounters. So you have to sort of balance the fact that, well, I need to conserve health, because at the end of several floors, you're gonna have to fight one of the fiends.
Yeah.
But on the one hand, you'll be saving your HP because you won't be getting into stupid, obnoxious battles. So it's really up to you. But since I was recording, I opted to step on damaging floors as much as possible.
God almighty, there's so much red here, you'd almost think it was a fire-based dungeon.
Oh my god, you would almost think that. So yeah, be sure to pack tons of Nobles, which is one of the benefits of having upgraded class, is that now that all 4 party members can cast white magic, all 4 of them can cast Nobles, which will have the damage of fire-based attacks. Later versions of the spell in the series will actually completely negate the spell. I know in Final Fantasy X, there's some of the best spells because you can just get a free hit off of a fire-based spell.
Nice. I have to say, props to the art department of Final Fantasy for going all out with the sprite design, but these upgraded fires and red mages still look a bit weird, at least from the side.
But they're so buff, dude. Don't you like how buff your character is now?
Well, it's like the red mages, or whatever they are in their upgraded form, they wave their capes during their victory animation.
I know, isn't that beast? Also, they're wizards. That's pretty much how the mages upgrade, is they go from mages to wizards. And then the fighter/warrior, it's okay to be confused because they haven't really solidified their names after a while, but I tend to go with fighter. They upgrade to knights.
Nice.
And that's pretty much been set in stone. Even in Dissidia, Warrior of Light's X mode is he class upgrades to a knight.
That was always pretty cool, that EX burst thingy.
Dude, EX modes are the freaking best. And yeah, if you're wondering why the Warrior of Light doesn't seem to look like the fighters, that's because there's essentially 2 art styles that go with every game. You have the classical, essentially the concept art.
Yeah.
And then you have whatever the sprite translation of that character was. And believe it or not, that was actually Nomura's first job when he joined Squaresoft in Final Fantasy IV. His job was essentially to take the concept art and translate it into a bitmap character. It wasn't until Final Fantasy VI that he got to design, I believe it was only 2 characters. It was Shadow and Setzer, which, that's why Setzer is the only Final Fantasy VI character in Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
He was able to design that, but it wasn't until Final Fantasy VII that he got his big break, and they said, you know what, Nomura, you can design the cast. And so he designed, I believe, 7, 8, 10... and 13. And if you notice, those are the same characters that seem to appear in all the Kingdom Hearts games. He likes to stick to his own characters. It's actually not an ego trip. It's more of a respect deal. He doesn't like messing with other people's characters. He doesn't want to accidentally fuck them up. So give him credit. Yes, he uses belts and buckles way too much, but at least he's considerate of other people's characters.
I can totally understand that, and I buy into the whole respect thing, but at the same time, that kind of limits Kingdom Hearts in terms of Final Fantasy cameos, which is one of the selling aspects of the series. At least it was to begin with, before they went down the whole anime story arc.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that. After a while, Nomura has to put his big boy pants on and just, put in some more Final Fantasy IX characters. That's all I'm asking, dude. You got Vivi. He wasn't all that good, but just put some more Final Fantasy IX characters and he'll be A-okay. I'll forgive the convoluted plot if I can see some more Final Fantasy IX characters.
I'd be happy with Warrior of Light and Garland, and I know Helldragon would fucking love Golbez in there.
Dude, Golbez. Well, Final Fantasy IV has had so many sequels and remakes that I almost don't want it to get any more attention. Like, I think Final Fantasy should be a bit more fair with which games they make a bajillion remakes and sequels of, and 9 has been left out in the cold. It's like, come on guys, it's the best Final Fantasy. The least you could do is push it more into the limelight.
I like how almost, well, a quarter of this is just us discussing Kingdom Hearts.
Well, why not? It's Final Fantasy. That's like the whole point.
The only thing going on screen is just us beating Wizardgers and Gurugers.
That actually sounds like terrible, terrible enemy names. Like, but once again, Japan, English, language limitations, but it's all okay. Because Richie is still Jesus, and he will heal all of our wounds.
Yes, and we have Carter over there bringing the Zeus Thunder.
Thundaga, I wish. But it's actually lightning too, so it would be Thundara. They didn't actually get into the Final Fantasy naming scheme of base, raw, ga until later versions. And even then, there's not really one set, because sometimes there's Ja at the end, which will be like the level 4 version of a spell.
There's also Zar, which I think debuted in Kingdom Hearts 3D, I think it was.
I believe there are Zaz as well. I mean, it's no worse than like what Shin Megami Tensei does, where fire is Agi and lightning is Zio.
Okay.
Naming spells is hard, guys. Just face it that no game is ever gonna get naming spells down right. It's just not gonna happen.
It's too hard. Have you ever made a game?
Have you ever? No, exactly. Have you ever Let's Play Final Fantasy 1? No. That's why what I'm doing is perfect.
There's 2 of us in this commentary. I think you're fine.
Did you record a Final Fantasy game, Tom?
No.
Alrighty then.
I've been meaning to ask, actually. Obviously, we condense all this down just for, the, the convenience of the viewing audience. How much time overall do you think you took to record the game, like, unedited?
Unedited? About 2 weeks? LPing RPGs for me is not all that difficult. All I need to do is, like, have maps pulled up, and obviously I do practice runs, and I guess I'm pretty particular about this. I route games before I record them, whether they're Zelda or RPG. I like to plan out what I'm gonna do way ahead of time, like before I even record the opening. And I know it seems a bit time consuming, but to me it seems like it's a trade-off of how much time I'm gonna use. I'm gonna use time either planning or redoing areas, so I'd rather just spend a lot of time beforehand planning, so that by the time I sit down, put the controller in my hand and record, it's more just like a one-time deal, because I've planned everything out so in-depth. I mean, yeah, there's always the occasional RNG fucking me up by getting a critical hit with the enemies or some shit, but that's not too bad. I mean, this game is very picky about its saves. You can only save on the world map and with certain items or in inns, which that's a big thing. A lot of people kind of wonder with the NES version, how do I save? Sleep at an inn.
Yeah.
But, if you just use a cottage before dungeons, then for the most part, all you have to do is just go through the dungeon again, and if you know the route to take, the dungeons, as you can see, they don't take too much time. You can fit them into like a 20-minute block if you know where to go. The difficulty is that they obviously make them labyrinth-esque.
So in this dungeon, what would you say, besides obviously, the killing floors, is the main thing you want to look out for?
Killing floors and just the fact that enemies are now starting to get level 2 spells, so they're starting to get multi-hits. That's why I highly recommend doing the job class side quest before this. Because believe it or not, the Ice Cavern is much, much more difficult than Golok Volcano. So if you can clear the Ice Cavern, this dungeon is no problem, and it becomes even simpler with the job class. So if anything, we've gone down in difficulty.
What's the level cap for FF1?
50. I believe it's 50. Yeah, and then the remakes go up to 99. There's no point. I'm gonna probably get at most in the early 20s. Because the HP for a lot of these bosses, there's only like 2 or 3 that go above 1,000.
Yeah, it was kind of weird actually. I was looking for like a boss guide, just to see what's coming up and whatnot. I know the story of FF1 pretty much off by heart by now, and yeah, I was expecting to see like 50,000, 100,000, a million infinity sign. No, not really that high overall.
They don't get that high, not even in the remake, because the remake tried to adjust by making the HP higher because they sort of upped the damage cap for a lot of people. Even though it's easier, the bosses have more HP. Because with the NES, with the low HP, it's definitely not helped by the fact that critical hits are bugged. Because like I said, rather than taking the actual critical hit percentage number, they take the number the item has on the weapon index list, and that becomes your critical hit rate. So if you're using like the 30th sword in the game, you have a 30% critical hit rate. That's supposed to be the max. And it just goes up from there the later and later you get in the game.
God, you weren't kidding about Labyrinthine. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, this last floor is sort of a pentagram shape. You have 8 possible paths to go through from that center piece. But like I said, once you know where to go, you're good.
What happened to Nintendo's strict stance on no religion in games? Was this just like Square giving Nintendo the finger?
I'm thinking, well, it's not 2 pentagram. Like I said, it's a 8-way. It's a couple lines slashed through each other. But hey, lots of games have been able to sneak by it steadily. I mean, you have a cross here or there, you have a tombstone here and there. I mean, it wasn't until Ocarina of Time when they can outright say, this is the Temple of Shadows.
Yeah, don't forget that first-person shooter game featuring Noah and his Ark.
There are so many Noah's Ark video games, especially on the NES. Like, people really wanted kids to know about Noah and the Ark on their Nintendo systems. I mean, they go hand in hand, Noah and Nintendo.
Yeah, it's an interesting story as well.
If not a bit far-fetched.
Oh no, Red D, you're probably gonna want to get that checked out.
Yeah, get your Red D checked out before it becomes a zombie D and then you can't use your D no more.
Ooh, alright, what's the strategy here?
Ice. Lots and lots of ice. It's pretty simple, guys. But don't let that fool you. Not everything that's red in this dungeon is going to be weak to ice. More specifically, the boss. I'm just gonna put that out there right now. The boss is not weak to ice.
What the fuck is that shit? Oh, the whole dungeon, everything's weak to ice. Not the boss, though. No, too easy.
No, not at all. No. It's supposed to be trial and error, bro. Or, buy Nintendo Power so you can get the tips, tricks, and trades.
Oh, that's where Flame was. No wonder he wasn't on the team. He was hiding in a chest in this dungeon.
Yeah, now I'm probably gonna end up throwing him away at some point. I don't need him.
Flame is just trash. He should have never been invented.
Sorry, Flame, but if you're not Cardo making awesome art, or Richie healing the sick, or Tom or Helldragon hitting shit with all your might.
Don't finish that sentence. Let's just trail off.
The boss of this dungeon, the Fiend of Fire, his name is Carrie. It's not really, it's actually Marlith. But that was, I believe, a Dungeons & Dragons own copyright name, so instead they tried to do a crude translation of the name Kali, which most people would know is a Hindu god that has multiple arms with swords. But they couldn't even get that, legal sidestep right, and instead named her Carrie. And as I said, she's not weak to ice, even though she's the Fiend of Fire. She will cast fire and darkness spells, 30% of the time. But the weird thing about her is that even though she's not weak to ice, she's weak to status ailment. Which, yes, status is an element. By that logic, you can stun her, you can put her to sleep, you can even cast fear, which will cause her to run away from battle.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but you'll miss out on the experience. But if you want to do a low percent run, have all your characters finish at the lowest possible level, you have to cause Carrie to run away. She is pathetically easy for being one of the 4 fiends, but I guess it's probably because she woke up 200 years too soon. Us killing the Fiend of Earth is what woke her up and caused her to burn a village down, so oops, our bad.
Yeah, more like warriors of fuck-ups.
Yeah, like I said, they may need to be arrested and quarantined because they're causing some serious damage, on top of all the good they're doing, I guess.
Yeah, just have Richie heal him up after the fact, it's all good.
And yeah, there's supposed to be a pillar of light, but it didn't render correctly. Just imagine it. Use your imagination like everything else on the NES.
Oh, that crystal has a shine on it. I like that one more than the one in the bottom right.
That's it, 2 crystals down.
So where are we off to now, Mexi?
We gotta rest at an inn, because we are weak and weary from traveling through a volcano.
Oh, God almighty. Okay, what if we set off now? Because you said defeating the Lich caused Carey to go on a fire spree. What has destroying Carey done to the world now?
Actually, nothing.
Oh.
Even though with this game, I really feel like they should have, at least in the remakes, after defeating a fiend of that certain element, like, restored a little bit. You saw that Melman had decaying earth. I really feel that defeating Lich should have at least brought some of that town back. But they don't do that in any of the games, and defeating Carey is pretty uneventful. I mean, at most you can save her for last. But going through dungeons is your best way to get money, so, might as well use all that money to buy some new spells. Level 3s specifically. They're still multi-hit, but they're going to do a shit ton of damage.
Oh, this is a new town. What's this thing's gimmick?
This town's gimmick is that you need an airship to get in because it's surrounded by mountains, and it's situated on the eye of the continent, which is shaped like a bird. Like I said, the world map in this game is very well designed, and I love a lot of the little visual, I don't know if they would be called gags, but the visual things that they throw into the continents and the world map as a whole. They got really creative, and I'm really glad they did.
I think landmark is the term you're looking for there, mate.
There we go. They went with a lot of visual landmarks. There you go.
Nothing like a bit of retail therapy.
But we have to buy some pro rings. These are pretty much some of the best mage exclusive armor. That's why I'm picking them up. Tom and Helldragon have been getting all of the good armor up until this point. It's time that we spoil Richie and Cardo, since they're doing most of the work, what with their infinite healing and thunder.
You have fucking Jesus and Zeus over there. You don't think they're powerful enough?
Well, it's okay, because you guys are getting really good swords as well. I wouldn't leave 1 or 2 guys out of the loop. The Warrior of Lights are a team, alright? Team effort, JRPG. Friendship is power.
Alright, I noticed a fairy had been kidnapped back there. Will that factor into the plot in any way?
Definitely, that's why I'm talking to them. You'll notice that I don't like to talk to unnecessary NPCs.
Hardy ha!
More pirates? Bro, did you not see what we did back in part 1? We can kick your ass and get that fairy if we want, but you sold it, so suck it.